All right, so hello everyone. I'm glad that you could make it for our workshop. Today I'm going to tell you how custom-made footwear is easy, possible, and that you shouldn't stress out for the different step that needs to be taken when you want to make custom-made footwear through Afana Pouliot, which has been doing so for the last 60 years or so. So you know who we are. Afana Pouliot has been dedicated for custom-made footwear for over 60 years. We make custom-made footwear for those who cannot be fitted with regular footwear, even if they are modified. We are an entirely Canadian company. Our workshop is based in Quebec City. We do have people all through Canada making appointments with their patients and sending us their molding, measuring, and casting for us to make their custom-made footwear. So we are a proud provider of the national defense. We've been so for many years, and we can assure you that we put everything in our power to give you satisfactory results. Who makes the footwear? There's 12 people in our workshop that makes the footwear. 3 of them are orthotist prosthetics. So we understand what you're going through with your patients. We understand what is this limitation when you're talking about a specific pathology. 95% of our footwear is a first fit on a good delivery. Within the footwear, we always provide you with a 3 or 5 millimeters cork insole that will allow you to make adjustments on location if need be. Our orthotics, which is also included with the custom-made footwear, gives you, again, a little bit more space to work with. So most of the adjustments that need to be provided to the footwear upon delivery can be made within your facilities. Delivery is usually in 2 months. If it's not the case, we will be able to foresee the delay, and we will have the respect to give you a call to mention that there could be a small delay, but make sure that when that happens, we do our utmost to get back on track with a 2 months delivery. We're actually providing footwear as vendors to more than 50 locations throughout Canada, and we keep on going. So we do have the experience. We do have the knowledge. We're only a phone call away, and in some situations, we might even have to fly to your location or drive to your location to meet a particular patient or a particular case with you. But most of the time, we'll do it through a Zoom conference. We could be with you right there and there when you're measuring and molding your patients to assist you with any questions that you might have during the process. A custom-made footwear is not for someone who is not a modified footwear and is not an off-the-shelf footwear. A custom-made footwear is really from a mold that you take from your patients. It has a unique last and pattern. It is entirely made to measure, mostly by hand. How do we do it? First, we scan the mold. If you go into our back office, you will see videos of how you must mold and measure your patients, step by step, well demonstrated, to bring you back to what you certainly learned in school and to put you at ease with the process. When the mold is scanned, we do use the Footwear technology, which is a Canadian technology, and we do have the possibility to use this latest technology and to combine it with the craftsmanship of our people. This technology is interesting for you because when you will be delivering the footwear to your patients, if your patient comes up with the comments, for example, that the footwear is too short or too long or too wide, the technology allows us, with the measurements the scan that we took of the molding that you sent, the measurements that you send it, you're able to see on the scanner the red line being your patients and the blue line being the result of what we did with the last. So we're able to give you documentation that will show to your patient, for example, that the footwear cannot be too short because you see that the length is more than sufficient. So it's either that the patient has not put in his foot correctly, has not tied the footwear correctly, or that the pattern pushes the foot forward, but it gives you some information, data, quantity data that will allow us to make the final adjustment if need be, and to make sure that you get the good results. Once all this is done, pattern has to be done. Once again, this is custom made. So it's a catalog that is available on our website will give you some example of what we could do. We strongly advise that you recommend to your patients what is best for him. For example, if you have a patient with severe bunions, it is nice to have a shoe with stitching and multi-pieces and, you know, less of a stretching shoe than other, but you know as a professional that some things that you want to avoid at all costs when you have a bunions are stitching. So do recommend to your patients that he choose a shoe pattern that will avoid the particularity of the need of his foot. So as you see, we have cutting each piece of the pattern on the letter chosen by the patient. Then all the pieces must be assembled. Again, this is made by hand by one of our seamstresses. The sole has to be done. In some cases, we're able to provide a prefabricated outer sole. The look is just fantastic, but do not worry if we see that whatever you send us allows us to put in a prefab outer sole rather than the usual sole that we see on custom-made footwear. We will, even if you don't ask for it. The quality check is compulsory, so we do have a staff that is looking at the end product that we're delivering to you. So we want to make sure we make everything that we can that when the product is up to your door is as you asked and exactly how it should be. But who needs custom-made footwear? These are some of the cases that we've serviced, and I'm sure that you see all the times in your office. You've tried to provide them with regular footwear. Some you will be able to provide regular footwear off the shelf, as we call them, modified. That's fine, you go right ahead. But when even a modified footwear is done enough, then it's time to go for the custom-made footwear. So severe bunions with overlapping of the toes. Again, severe bunions with overlapping of the toes and deviation. As you see, there's some redness here. So it's a sign that even the modified footwear that this patient was wearing was creating pressure. Fortunately, she's not a diabetic, so there was no sores, but that's something that could be. Sorry. This is a club foot patient. The size of the foot, as you know, is usually so round that it doesn't get into any regular footwear, and the stability is also a big issue with a club foot patient. This is a patient with cerebral palsy, permanent contraction of the foot. He's walking, so but he needs a very stable and a foot that that will allow him to be as stable as possible. A patient that is wearing AFO on both legs. As you might imagine, this patient is not walking much. There's transfers that he can do. So the main purpose of the footwear was to protect his feet from being hurt. So as mentioned in our video, we do take the molding with the AFO on. Partial amputation, toes deformities. These are the reasons why the footwear might be necessary. Again, amputation, the right hand lymphedema. So this is two problems that surely needs to be addressed by mostly by custom-made footwear. You can see the skin is stretched and shiny, so it's a very delicate skin, and pressure in a shoe that would not be suitable for this person could cause more amputation. Again, severe toe deformity. This patient had some surgery, and the sensitivity of the foot made it so that it was very difficult for him to find footwear that was suitable. Again, toes deformity, modified footwear, albeit there were still some calluses. As you see on the big toes, the nails were highly affected. So a custom-made footwear here was totally indicated. Club foot, charcoal foot, sorry, for diabetic patients. You see that this patient still have some bandages. I do not recommend that you mold the patient until his foot has healed and that he's ready to step into a custom-made footwear. If the patient has a record of non-compliance, the custom-made footwear might not be the solution for him either. So do be careful with the diabetic patients. Deformity by trauma or other reasons. You see the problem at the ankle of this gentleman. The left leg is totally distorted in comparison to the right one, and the foot is totally unstable. So he needs to have major modification within the shoe and not only on the orthotics. This gentleman, as you see, had severe pronation, toe deformities, lymphedema. It was a severe case, and he was very happy with his custom-made footwear. Again, toe deformity. This gentleman had a plane accident. He crashed in his plane, and as he says, in those days, he almost walked up and walked away from it. Unfortunately, the healing process was not the best, and actually what you see here is the bone that should have been over his ankle. So it's a gentleman that was really able to walk easily without pain, which was impossible for a long time, almost his life long. This case was simply a special size. This was a young lady, age 23, but she was size 4 in kids. So she had her prom. She wanted to have a lady shoe. So we did agree in this case just to make her a lady look-like shoe for very small feet. Custom-made footwear. This is the list of each of the patients that could be benefiting from custom-made footwear. I will not go over each one of them. Do take the time to have a look at this slide. But basically, from trisomy 21 patients to dwarfism, to diabetes, to club foot, charcoal foot, severe deformity, elephantism, lymphedema, echinism, all situation where the footwear is either very modified to the point where it gets not to be functional, and then the custom-made should be your answer for these cases. All the steps involved in the custom-made footwear are the following. We must evaluate your patient, mold measures, and take the 2D print with the photo print. You must conceive the shoe. In such, Afana Pouliot is helping you a lot by providing you models. And if you come to the agreement with your patient that the model that he would like would be, for example, model A, all you need to say is, I want model A. So the rest will know the letter, the shape, the sole, if it's lacing, if it's Velcro, it's all the information in the model is there. If you want the model A, but in Velcro rather than laces, all you have to do is mention model A with Velcro instead of laces. So we really made it easy for you. Once the office or the workshop receives your molding, your pictures, your foam cast, your measurements, your information of the patients, then our work begins with the creation of the last. It has to be finished. Then we create the pattern, we cut it, we select the material to make the shoe, and then we prepare the whole thing for stitching. Then there's the stitching, we insert the attachment, the lasting, the cementing and preparation, we attaching the sole, there's finishing and expansion. We calculated that there's 890 consecutive minutes, which is 14 hours and 83 minutes. That would be more like 15 hours and 23 minutes working hours. There's 12 trades involved, years of expertise. On average, it's take 2 months from start to finish, unless there is an emergency. Then if you come up to us with the emergency reasons, and everything gets to our office in time. We'll look if we're able to do it faster than 2 months. But of course, as I say, if it's always an emergency, then it will never be an emergency. How much does it cost to your patients? A couple of $1,000s. It is expensive, so that is why the custom-made footwear is not made for everyone. But I can assure you that those patients that are benefiting from custom-made footwear, since they are so dependent of your skill in the matter, are accustomed to these type of pricing, and they will appreciate having finally a footwear that is efficient and that suits them without hurting them. Who pays for custom-made footwear? Most of government agencies like worker compensation boards, DVA, Blue Cross, the patients themselves, some public insurance like MPIC, Family Affairs. You just have to check it out and to make sure that you provide the necessary documentation that each requires to make sure that you're up to par with their conditions. Conditions may apply. You must always get pre-approval, so it's always recommended that before you begin the process, you make sure with the patients or the organism that's going to pay for him that it is approved and that you're going to get paid once the process is finished. Because of course the work that we do is from an order from you, and it's not dependent of the fact that your patient is being covered or not. This is some of our finished products. We make sandals with brace. This is a Clensac, as you see. With a severe club foot, this patient could not walk before we provided him with his footwear. Yes, we can jazz it up. This was for a young kid. He wanted to look like a superhero, so we designed this shoe, and he was happy like a long time his parent has not seen him. To his request, the red outer sole was put in, and it was just great. This is again with a little bit more of a jazz it up. Sometimes you don't have to go crazy with the pattern. You just have to add a little piece of joy in the footwear. Like this one is a regular black booty, but with the stitching being in red, some stamping in the front, and red insert as far as the other sole gives it a totally different look. And this is the team. The actual team is making your footwear, part of it. This is the actual workshop. So if you ever come to visit, it'll be our pleasure to present all of these people and to show you around. Thank you very much.